Hi everyone, in this video we are going to learn about the access specifiers in Java. Let's try to understand what is an access specifier. Access specifier defines scope of a class, interface, constructor, method or a variable. And these access specifiers are of four types. Those are private, default, protected and public. Let's try to understand each one of the access specifier in detail. So the first one is the private access specifier. So if a class, variable or a method, if it has a private access specifier, that what does it mean? So those class member or methods cannot be accessible outside of that class, and they can be accessible only within that class. Okay, so if you have such requirement where your class member should not be accessible outside of the class, then declare those class member with private. Okay, coming to the next access specifier, which is default. So if you are not providing any access specifier explicitly, like if you're not mentioning like it's a private, protected or public, if you're not mentioning any access specifier, so that access specifier will come under the default category. Okay, and if you're not mentioning any access specifier, then those class members can be a variable or method will be accessed within the class and even outside of the class, and that should be within the same package. So the default access specifier, if it is applied on a class member, those cannot be accessed outside of that package, but within the same package it can be accessed within the class, outside of the class, but the only condition is it should be within the package. Okay, yeah, so it can be accessed within same package. This is the scope. The next one, protected. So in the protected access specifier, if you have a requirement where your class members should be accessed within the package and also should be accessed outside of the package, but only through the subclass. If you have such requirement, go ahead and declare your class members with access specifier protected. Okay, so it can be accessed within same package or outside of the package. Package, sorry, there's some mistake. Okay, package through subclass, or you can say child class. Okay, so this is the scope for a protected access specifier. So the class members can be accessed within the same package or outside of the package through the subclass, only through the subclass. Yeah, the next one, public access specifier. So if we are specifying public access specifier on a method or a variable, that means we can access those members from anywhere, and this also applies to a class or interface. Okay, so if we are explicitly mentioning that the class members or a constructor or a class or interface as public, then they can be accessed from anywhere. Can be within the package, outside of the package, outside of the class, but there is a limitation, but within the JVM. Okay, so this is a limitation for the public access specifier. This is also a very important question during interviews, so we may face some question around the access specifier. Okay, so it is always good to know and important to know about this. Okay, so we will understand about each access specifier with the sample program. Okay, but let's see like what we have covered already. What is access specifier we have covered, and what are the types of access specifier also we covered, and what are each one of them is also we have covered. Yeah, but before we go into the programming part, let's discuss uh, like what all the access specifiers allowed for class, interface, constructor, variable, methods, and yeah, let's see that. So if you are defining a class or interface, this is important, and it also we may also face some questions during interview. Yeah, it's good to know these things. So if what all the access specifier allowed for a class or interface, so the only two access specifiers are public or default. If we are specifying any other access specifier for a class or interface, we'll get a compilation error. Okay, the next one, what all the access specifier we can apply on a constructor? Yeah, all four: private, default, protected, and public. And for variables and methods, yeah, all four can be applied. For inner classes or interfaces, all four are applied. See here, there is a difference. For a class or interface, the only access specifiers, not the only, but there are two access specifiers we can apply on a class or interface, which are public and default. But if you are defining an inner class or inner interface, so inner class or inner interface will be covered in later videos, but yeah, for these inner classes or inner interface, we can, yeah, so we have the feasibility to use all the specifiers for these inner classes or interfaces. Okay, so this is the main topic which we should remember. Okay, let's try to understand it through a program. Yeah, so in this program I have created two classes, demo and demo 2. Demo 2 is a child class of demo, and in the demo class I have created four variables with different scope. So variable A has private, variable B is declared as default, and variable C with protected access specifier, variable D with public. Similarly, for each one of these method has been declared with the each access specifier. So M1 is private, M2 is default, M3 is protected, M4 is public. Let's see how it works. So before that, like we already discussed, that the allowed access specifiers for class will be public and default. So if you are not specifying anything, then this will come under the default access specifier. So class demo and even the class demo 2 both has default access specifier, but you can also make it as public. Okay, so one of the class you can make it as public, and let's see if what will happen if you try to make more than one class as public. You will get a compilation error saying that public type demo 2 must be defined in its own file. So per Java file you can declare only one class as public, not more than one class can be declared as public. Okay, that's a limitation. Okay, so once if you are defining some classes public, then that class name and the file name should be equal. That is one more important thing we should remember. Okay, yeah, so for the classes we can have the public or default access specifier, but not the others specifier allowed. See, if you are making this class as private, we got an error, compilation error, saying that illegal modifier for the class demo. Only public, abstract, and final are permitted. Okay, so this access specifier is not suitable for class, even protected. See here, you'll get the same error. Okay, so the only or the only access specified for classes will be the public and default access specified. Okay, so the same case is with the interfaces. So in this sample file, Java file, there is already an interface which is declared as public. What will happen if I create another interface with the public access specifier? So we'll get the same error. Okay, the same case what we have seen in the case of classes, right? So only one interface per Java file can be public, but not more than one interfaces can be declared as public, right? Yeah. So this is about the interfaces. Yeah. So let's see what all the access specifier allowed for constructor. So this is the constructor, right, for this class. So it is a default constructor, and the scope here is default, so we haven't mentioned anything, so it will come under the default access specifier category. So let's make it as private. Yeah, so private access specifier is allowed for the constructor. Make it as protected next. This is also allowed. Public. Yeah, so once if a constructor is declared as private, then it cannot be accessed from other classes. That means from other class you cannot create the object of this class. If it is declared as protected, then only from this child classes you can make the object of the demo class. Yeah, if it is declared as public, then from anywhere from any classes you can create the object of this class. Okay, so that's the difference, and that's how the specifier is used for constructor, right? Yeah, let's see what happens if it's applied on variables or methods. Okay, so if a variable or a method is declared as private, that means only within the within the class it is accessible. So what I'm doing here is like I'm printing the a variable value from the same class. So I'm trying to access this. So it is static method. We should make all the variables as static. Let's do that. Sorry, this should be before this. Yeah, static public private static. Yeah, either it should be private static or static private. Both ways it is same. Yeah, so I'm accessing the private variable or private method from the same class. It is allowed. Yeah, what if I want to access the same variable and method from the child class, that means from the other class? I'll get a compilation error saying that the field demo.a is not visible or the method is not visible, right? That means the private members are not accessible out of the class. So what will happen in case of default? So m2 method is default, and even the b variable has a default specifier. So let's try to access them and see what are they able to access from the same class. Yes, from the other class, yes they are, but not from the other package. So this class is under this package, so default members cannot be accessed out of this package. But what if you want to access the members outside of the package? Then we can have the protected access specifier. So in our case, there is a variable which is declared as protected and even a method m3 which is declared protected. Okay, so we can access this variable or method from the same class. So C is same variable and m3 is the method which is declared as protected, right? From the same class, it is accessible from the child class of the same file or the package. It is accessible, but also we can access this through the other package. Suppose the other package is com.regression, and under this we have a class demo child which is extending demo, this one. Okay, and let's see what is this error. Yeah, we don't have the import statement. Let's add that. Sorry, it's com.dev. Yeah, so we're trying to access the protected members of demo class from other package. Yeah, so it is possible, right? So there are no errors, no compilation errors. So it is possible to access the protected member from the other package, but only through the subclass. If it is not extending this class, then we cannot access this. So only through subclass we can access the protected members of the other class. It is nothing but the superclass. Okay, yeah, let's try to understand what is the public access specifier. So if a variable or a method, if it is declared as a public, it can be accessed from anywhere within the same class. So we'll try that. Within the same class they are accessible, there are no errors. Within the child class of the same package it is accessible. Within the other package also it is accessible. Also from the other project, suppose we have the project 1, but if we want to access the method 4 m4 and variable d from other projects, say project 2, from there also you can access the public class members. It can be a class, interface, constructor, variable, method, whatever declared as a public, you can access all of them from anywhere within the package, outside of the package, outside the project as well. But the only limitation is it should be within the JVM, same JVM.